Good afternoon. We're back with another episode of CBP Travel Chat. My name is Rhonda Lawson, Media Division Branch Chief for CBP's Office of Public Affairs, and I'll be your host for today. The summer travel season is now underway, and with so many exciting events happening around the world, today's episode will give you real-time tips on how you can ease your international travel experience. Joining me are two of CBP's finest. To my immediate right is Aaron Bowker, CBP's Office of Field Operations Director, and Basin Ramirez, Division Director for CBP's Agriculture Programs and Trade Liaison. Together, they will give you nearly everything you need to know to make your summer travel plans easier and more efficient. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get started. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today.
Absolutely. How are you?
I'm great. Great. So let's start with you, Mr. Bowker. So tell me a bit about what the Office of Field Operations is all about and why you're so important to summer travel.
So we inspect every single person who travels into the country lawfully. So if you're in 28 ports of entry, land borders, airports, seaports, if you're coming in internationally, you're going to see one of us. So you're going to pass through our inspections. If you want to get to where you're going, I think the Travel Tips is a good resource to learn how to do it seamlessly.
All right. And then Mr. Ramirez, I think you're kind of new to the group. We've done this a few years, but this is the first time you've been with us. So welcome, first of all.
Thank you very much.
Oh, glad to have you here. So people may not understand what APTL is, but you are very important when it comes to international travel.
Yeah, so for agriculture program trade liaisons, a lot of things that we do is we set the regulatory standards and working with our partner government agencies to give guidance for not only the public, but for our CBP personnel, our frontline personnel, including our CBP agriculture specialists who do regulation on several partnering government agencies and provide guidance on food, commodities, stuff that may come in, wildlife, animals, live animals. So that's what we do to make sure that if any of this stuff is enterable, live plants, fruits, vegetables. So we want to make sure that all of the stuff that comes into the country is admissible, that is free of pests and free of any possible disease, either animal or plant diseases. So that's what we do on our part.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, because people want to have their foods. They want to bring in, let's say if people are going on vacation and they want to bring something back that they may have tasted or sampled while they were out of the country, and they want to bring it back, something to remember things by. I'm sure you probably experienced that quite a bit.
Yes, we do. A lot of people many of the times bring different commodities, either handicrafts or they bring fruits, vegetables, animal products for various reasons. It could be for medical reasons, for dietary reasons, religious reasons, cultural reasons, research, for many different things. So the most important thing to note is to make sure you declare to CBP personnel. So whatever it is that you're bringing in, make sure that you declare it, because it's something, it is regulated, and many of the times it's admissible, so it might be fine to come in. We just got to make sure it doesn't have any possible pests or diseases that may be in there. So we want to make sure that that's okay to protect our agriculture and our natural resources, because we don't want any of that stuff to come in. And then once, if it isn't admissible or if it needs certain requirements, we just let the public know or the travelers know what it is that they need, and if not, we just need to go ahead and dispose. And unfortunately, sometimes we need to destroy some of this stuff to make sure we protect, the traveling public, our agriculture, and our natural resources. So some of the stuff needs to be destroyed, adequately.
And just to piggyback off that a little bit, I mean, declaring is the most important thing, right? That honesty when you're traveling in, if you want to be able to come in seamlessly, it's one of the biggest pieces of advice we can give anybody is be honest with what you're traveling with. You'll think it's small, may not be small to us. Traveling with over $10,000, you just declare it. There's no problems, right? You've got medication that you need for your entire trip, you declare it. So there's no problems. We just make sure that that's all within the applicable laws that we have. It's where we get into the failure to declare that things become a problem for travelers. Just slows you up, could lead to fines, could lead to a lot of other problems. So declaring it's always the easiest way to go.
And speaking of declaring, I mean, I've heard of instances where people may be traveling with large sums of money.
Sure.
And they think that, okay, well, if I split the money up between all of my family members, then maybe we'll get by. Right. But that's not the way to go either.
It's not the way to go. So if it's your money coming out of your bank account, then that is the sum of money. It doesn't matter really who's holding the sum of money, because it came from the same single resource, right? Obviously, if you're traveling people that, like, say your friends and you each have your own bank account, that's a different story. But if you're traveling with over $10,000 and you're not sure, the easiest thing to do is declare it and fill out the form. There's no penalty for it. There's no limit on the amount. If you're lucky enough to travel with $1 million in cash, have at it. Just tell us. We got to fill the form out.
Makes a lot of sense. And so it's just all about declaring. Nobody's trying to take your money. Nobody's trying to take anything from you. It's just about being honest when you're traveling.
Correct, exactly. And that goes with a lot of things that you wouldn't even necessarily think about, things that you purchased, right? There's no point in trying to hide it because we're going to see it anyways. So you might as well be honest about it and let us make the determinations whether there's even duty or not duty.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and if there's certain food items that you do declare, you bring in some sort of fruit and you don't know if it's okay to come in or not, the best thing is just go ahead and declare it. And then we can look at it, and you won't get a penalty if you declare, and you rightfully declare you're not lying. However, if you do try to, hide something or not, or say, oh, I'm not sure, it's best to know and prepare before you leave where you're coming from to know if it's allowed to come into the country. So with CBP, there are several websites that you can go online and see what's admissible and what's not from different countries, because commodities vary from country to country, fruits, seeds, whatever it is. But the best thing is, if you're not sure and you didn't have time to go on the website, just declare it. If not, if a civil penalty is issued, it may make you ineligible for certain trusted traveler programs as well.
Right.
And I was actually just about to say that we've seen a number of blogs that have crossed our computers at the Public Affairs Office, where people have said that they lost their global entry just because they had a banana in their bag or just because they had an orange. And many times it may not be just that simple, but they've simplified it in their blog.
Sure. Yeah, and it's more of a lack of understanding. So the Trusted Traveler Program is exactly what it says. Trusted Traveler, which means you have to adhere to all of the laws, regulations, and policies traveling into the country. So you can't travel with prohibited food items, which means if you have a violation, that could then potentially remove you from that program because you've now violated that specific law, policy, or regulation. The Trusted Traveler Program is not a right, it's a privilege. And so with that privilege, what it enables you to do, obviously, is have a much more seamless travel experience coming into the country. But with that comes things like doing your background check, making sure that you consistently clear vetting. But the other piece is that you are adhering to all of our applicable laws and regulations.
Makes sense. Anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, no, and on top of that, I think that's one of the things. Just always declare. I think that's the best thing to do. We do have, sometimes at some ports we do have our agricultural canines. So say they may hit on they may alert to some food that you may be bringing. You may not be aware of it. The biggest thing is just to declare. This includes food that's coming off of your flight, because now that's considered like regulated garbage because it doesn't originate from the U.S. So if you happen to have an apple and you're going to bring it in, you got it off the plane, you want it as a snack for later, declare it. As soon as you get off the plane, just say, oh, I have an apple or I have a sandwich, and then just let them know. But the best thing is with any of that stuff, it's best to eat it on the plane before you get off the plane, because sometimes some of these foods are not allowed to come off, So it's best to keep the food on the plane than take it off the plane.
Makes sense. Now, we did get a question already from the chat. We were talking about global entry just a second ago, and somebody's asking, can they renew their global entry online?
Yes, you can renew your global entry online. It goes through a process, and then you either have to come and see an officer or you don't if it's auto-renewed. But you can go through not only the mobile application, but you can also go through the website and renew your application.
Well, that makes it pretty simple then.
Yeah, you should already have your account from when you originally enrolled. So you log in, pull up your account, and just say you have to renew it. Done it myself, and it's a pretty easy process. It takes you pay the fee. It takes a couple weeks to get the results back, and away you go.
And speaking of global entry, I just came back from vacation. I think everybody who knows me knows I came back from vacation because I just had such a great time. But one of the things that I loved is when I flew into Miami and the new portal was there, and we barely had to stop. My boyfriend was right behind me, and we barely stopped walking, and it caught our picture just that quickly.
Right.
And we both looked at each other like, wow, that was fast.
Yeah.
And we were processed so quickly. It took us longer to wait for our bags
Right.
than it did for us to actually get processed. And I thought that was the greatest thing. So global entry was the bomb.com for me. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and technology is ever evolving, right? So if you think back 10 years to where we are now, it really is amazing that you can have a type of technology that allows you to almost walk through the process. And some people ask questions like, well, is it still secure? Well, absolutely. It's a layered enforcement approach to what we're doing. So the officers are still there watching people. They still have the ability to ask questions if they need to, but because of the vetting process that goes into being a part of these programs that you are volunteering for, that we've taken fingerprints for, we have your photo, right? So we already know the background. So now we're trying to find like that one bad apple, right? But it really lets you narrow the focus for that security program. And what it does in turn for the traveler, imagine traveling with kids and you don't have to like go through that process of that inspection process, or you have a large family and you're able to just kind of start walking through these and it makes it a lot more seamless. It really is amazing. It's changing the game of how people travel into the United States.
Absolutely. Now we have another question that just came in. My travel companions, people like children, spouse, or co-travelers, are not global entry members. Can they come through the global entry lane with me?
No.
So they have to go through general population.
Correct. Yep. And I've done that with my own friends and family before. Where
You left your family?
not my kids, because they have trusted traveler program. But I mean, yeah, you go through that lane and they have to go through the regular inspection process. I mean, even consider it with like TSA with PreCheck, right? Like my trusted traveler program gets me PreCheck in TSA. So if I fly through the airport, I'm flying with someone and they don't have it, I go through the PreCheck line. It's a lot easier of a security experience for me than it would be, say, in the regular security lane, right? So, yeah, that is part of it. But yes, they do have to go through the regular lanes.
Well, you heard that here. If you are planning a trip, find out if everybody has global entry or PreCheck. And if you have it and everybody else doesn't, you might want to tell them to get it, because you're not going to go through the general population line with them.
Yeah.
Just so y'all can all be together.
Now, there is one thing that they can do if they're U.S. citizens or Canadian citizens. I don't know the citizenship of who asked the question, but if you have global entry, one thing they can do is they can get MPC, mobile passport control. So they can download that application. They can load all their information to it. It is a different lane. It is available in a lot of different locations. If they want to look up the locations of the airports, they can go on to cbp.gov/travel to do that. But it is a little bit of a more seamless process than, say, the regular line, because you've now loaded in all your information. It takes away that sort of data entry stuff from us, and it already starts that vetting process for us before you actually hit the lane. So it is a little bit of an easier inspection experience. That is another program that's available. It's not the Trusted Traveler program, but it is a new program, and it is a nice one as well.
Yeah, and I've actually seen a number of the travel influencers are starting to promote MPC a lot more. And there's always somebody in the comments saying, don't promote it because you're going to tell everybody about it and that line is going to start getting longer.
Yeah.
Right now,
I mean,
a lot of people don't know about
That's
it.
always possible, but just like any business model, we shift how we process people, which means that the population for global entry grows, which it has over the years, right? It's really expanded now. I mean, you're talking to, I think I've seen that we're well over 10 to 15% of travelers coming into the country using Trusted Traveler, right? So we shift how much technology needs to be available to process that group of people. It's the same thing with anything else. If you have a lot of people using MPC, you make the necessary amount of lanes available for it.
Now, speaking of apps, there's also an app for people who might need to declare agricultural goods.
Yeah, there's the CBP Link app. So a lot of times if you're bringing in if you're a researcher and you're bringing biological materials, or let's say you went trekking somewhere and maybe you have some sort of mud or some other soil on there, you can go ahead and schedule on the CBP Link, ahead of time. So you can go ahead and meet with the CBP agriculture specialist in the secondary area to see if they can see if it's something that needs to be disinfected or something that they can go ahead and process faster. So that's one of the apps that you can utilize for that.
And that actually winds up helping out a lot because they don't have to wait so long once they get off the plane.
Correct, and it's already expected that they're going to be there, so we already know this person is coming in. They're coming in with either some biological materials for research, or they're coming in with some sort of like footwear or something. Because if one of the questions they ask if you've been on a farm, and a lot of times they ask that question because there could be diseases such as foot and mouth disease or something that were on a farm where you were at, or some other pest or other debris that could be on there. So we want to make sure that if you do have some sort of equipment that's dirty, that's soiled, make sure you declare that as well too, and just say, you know what, can you see if this is okay to come in? Sometimes it's fine, but sometimes it's a point where the agriculture specialist will go out there and help adequately and properly disinfect some of these materials. So they want to make sure that they do that. So if your bike or your boots are dirty, they want to see if they can go ahead and just clean those up as well too.
That makes sense. Now, I'll stay with you for a moment because we got another question that came in. Can I bring my dog with me?
Yes. So on the cbp.gov website, if you are going out of the country or coming into the country, there's a lot of, especially if you're coming back into the country, there's a checklist where you can see some of the requirements that the dogs need before they go out or into the country. Also, our partnering government agencies with CDC and USDA have a lot of information on that as well. One of the things that we do want to make sure that we bring awareness to, sometimes there are other diseases in other countries, and currently right now there's an outbreak of New World Screwworm. So New World Screwworm is an actual fly that is a parasitic pest that goes and lays eggs on wounds or injuries of warm-blooded animals and eats the living flesh once the larvae come out. So it affects many animals, a lot of livestock, a lot of cattle, but it also could affect dogs, cats, and at times people. And this could be something that could be fatal if not treated correctly or adequately. So we just encourage all and tell everybody, if they're taking their companion friends out of the country, to, with an abundance of caution, maybe reconsider if you want to take your pets out and expose them and make them vulnerable to what may be out there. So that's something that we want to make sure that we get that across.
Can we sit with that for a minute? Because you were talking about the New World Screwworm, and that's something that is not really native to the United States right now.
Yes, it's not native to the United States, so it's traveled from South America up into the United States. The United States has had it before, and luckily USDA and other government agencies were able to eradicate it there. So there's eradication efforts for that. So what it is, it's a fly, again, that looks similar to like a housefly, and there's a lot of information on screwworm.gov. So if anybody needs more information on that, there's plenty of resources on that as well. That's again screwworm.gov. And so this pest goes, it flies out, and they go ahead and they lay their eggs inside of a wound. So once the eggs break out, the maggots that are in there will actually feast on the living flesh of the warm-blooded animal. Then they fall off, they pupate, and they become the adult flies again. So right now, USDA is utilizing, different efforts to go ahead and combat that with sterile insect release, and CBP is helping in those efforts, as well as mitigating and making sure that everything that comes in, that we're still checking to make sure that it's okay, not infected or possibly not infected with the New World Screwworm. So that's something that we want to try to make sure that we try to keep it at bay.
Now, just an everyday person might be saying, well, what's the big deal? That's just another fly.
Yeah. Well, this fly could impact your companion animal. So you have your dog and you take your dog on a vacation, even though you might be going to maybe like a resort or something like that. There's no thing that the fly says, I'm not going to land on your dog, or I'm not going to land on something. So what will happen is, it could, if your animal gets affected with this, it could cause an infection or secondary infection, and it'll get worse. So you don't want to put it's pretty painful. So you don't want to put your animal, your dog companions or cats exposed to something like that. Aside from our pets that it may impact, it's also our livestock. So this could take a huge detrimental effect on the livestock that we have here. And I'm talking about sheep, goats, cows, everything. So if that ends up impacting our industry, it impacts the United States commerce and our ability to export some of this meat products that are going out there, which means that we have less meat, higher demand, it's going to be more expensive. So it's going to end up being more expensive for you at the end, because it causes detrimental health to a lot of these animals and a lot of livestock animals. So that's why we want to keep this, along with other pests and other animal diseases. So a lot of times when we tell everybody to declare, it's because we want to keep things like this out of the country. And that's our job as frontline personnel, both the officers and agriculture specialists, to make sure that we're vigilant. And if we see this, we report it or try to stop it. Same thing with you bring in a mango. You're not trying to do anything malicious with this mango. You just want to eat it. You go to a country, you bring it back, you leave it on your table, and you're like, oh, I'll eat it for lunch, I'll eat it later. And during that time while you step out, there could be a fruit fly that just comes out of it, in its stages, and it flies out. Now it goes into your neighbor's lemon tree. Now it goes into that neighbor's apple tree. So then it starts to spread out, and now you have an outbreak. So those are things that we want to make sure, even though people are not trying to bring something in with bad intentions, we want to make sure that they're aware of why we do this. So when we do take the fruit, we do take the food, we dispose of it properly where it gets steam sterilized or incinerated to the point that it destroys these insects or possible animal diseases that might be in there. So that's what ends up happening with the fruit. I know some people are like, you're just gonna eat our fruit. Like, no, it's properly destroyed. We do not eat your food. Please just know, like, this stuff gets properly destroyed at a place that's regulated by CBP and USDA to make sure it gets cooked to a point that it kills any viruses, any federal noxious weeds, any diseases that may be in there that may impact our culture, our agriculture, or our health or natural resources.
Well, thank you for explaining that. Okay, so I'm going to come back to you, Aaron. A question came in asking about, I know you talked a little bit about global entry and MPC. Somebody wanted to know if they should have both. What's the difference between the two?
Well, there are two different processes. So the MPC piece hasn't gone through a background check with like advanced fingerprints and things like that. You're submitting your information, picture of your passport and yourself when you arrive. So once you land, you have access to your Wi-Fi again or cell service. Whereas global entry is that pre-vetted program, that trusted program, goes through a continuous vetting process. We have all your information already on file. It's a different, seamless process. My suggestion is always to start with the Trusted Travel Program as long as you meet the criteria. You don't have the extensive criminal background, things like that. Then if you're you're eligible for that program, that is probably the best one for you. And if not, you can use the MPC program as a fallback. Some people, their families are bigger, they don't want to pay for the Trusted Traveler Program. The MPC, there's no fee.
Well, I know at one time I've talked with somebody who said that they had global entry, but for some reason that day the global entry line was really long.
Okay.
And so she pulled out the MPC app and jumped over to the MPC line because that line was short, and she wound up just going through that line. So
Sure.
That was a hack that she was able to use.
There you go. Yeah, and I mean, listen, even with a global entry card, you could go through a regular line and still use it. It may not be that walkthrough process you described going through in Miami, but you can still use that as identification and go through the lane. They'd still recognize you as a trusted traveler. You'll see an officer. You may have to stop, but it is still a card that's eligible to go through a lane if you see something that's lower. But our goal is to not have that kind of a backup, although it's nice that a lot of people are trying to use it.
Yes. Another question that just came in is, I'm coming for the games. The big soccer tournament.
Yeah.
And they want to bring meat that they can grill. And so they want to know if they can bring in their meat.
So again, like I mentioned, anything you're bringing in, you declare it. If it's something that you think it's going to be okay, just declare it. I mean, we have plenty of meat products in the U.S., so it would be more convenient maybe for them to just have it here. But if they are bringing in it either through the airport or through the land border, the best thing is to declare it. Again, declare it. They'll tell you if it's centrable, and then they do have to look at it to verify, to see what it is, to see if there's anything that is of concern to, CBP and to our agriculture regulations. So it is to declare it, to make sure that they have it on there. We have to look at see the packaging, what they're bringing in. So the best thing is just to declare it. If anything, again, we have plenty of places where you can get meat products here in the United States. But if you do bring something in, make sure you're declaring it. Again, with this New World screwworm outbreak, it does, penetrate in some animal products, so we have to be vigilant for that as well. And a note to that I forgot to include beforehand was that sometimes humans in rare cases can also get the New World screwworm. So that's one of the other things that just to be aware of. Besides our our companions and our dogs and our cats and other livestock that we may have out there, it also impacts humans at times. So we just got to make sure just to be vigilant and to be aware of this stuff. And anything happens, if your pets or you have something that may be smelling bad or something's wrong, just declare it if you're not sure. The best thing is just always to declare something. You know, it doesn't mean necessarily that it will be automatically taken away, but at least it gives us an opportunity to see if it's okay, if it has anything in there. And if we do end up seeing anything that has possible newer screwworm or some other thing, we can report it right away to make sure that it gets out there and we protect ourselves and protect our communities.
Okay. I'm coming back to you, Aaron. How early should I apply for global entry before I travel?
As early as you can. The earlier the better. And then what it does allow you to do is if you're coming from foreign, we do have lanes at a lot of our airports, and again, you can look up which airports those are online, where you can do entry on arrival. And so if it's your first time coming in, we can enroll you upon arrival. So if you apply in advance, you pay, you still have to do that interview with the officer. You can do that when you arrive at the airport. It takes a couple minutes. Shouldn't really impact your ability to travel onward. Like you said, you end up waiting for your bag to come out of the carousel anyways. So while you're doing that, you could apply, say, in the UK, fly in, go through your enrollment on arrival, and then you have it.
That's not a bad deal.
Not a bad deal at all.
So I could actually essentially apply for it like while I'm on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you want to give yourself enough time because
Right.
it still has to go
Because
through that
it's still a background
back-end
check.
vetting process, the
Right.
background check. Yep, and then when you come in, we'll go through the rest of the process, making sure we get your photo, we get your, your fingerprints and things like that. But then you can do enrollment on arrival.
Now, while we're talking about that, there have been times where families have all applied for global entry at the same time, but they didn't get their approvals back at the same time.
That happens. Sure.
Yeah, and that's because everybody is vetted individually, not so much vetted as a family. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Yes. Yeah, you're not going. Sometimes some things. I mean, listen, it goes through an algorithm, right? So sometimes some things, depending on how it gets siphoned in there, might take a couple days, could take a couple weeks. Everyone's kind of at a different basis, different angle. It just depends on when you go in. Because remember, you're not the only person applying, right? There's lots and lots of people applying, and it goes into this queue. And so based on how it goes into the queue, mixed up amongst everybody else. But, if you might not get it all back at the same time, but I'm pretty sure it'll be within close proximity to each other. That won't really be a problem.
Okay. Now, what happens if a global entry member changes their name?
Then you have to update the system with us. And you have to go in there, you got to let us know. If it's a legal name change, you've got to be able to prove it, things like that. So if you get married, you change your last name, you have to go in there and update the system. You got to prove to us that the name change was legal, and we have to update the cards as well.
Okay, and that should be a pretty simple process if they just go into their portal, correct?
They can go into the portal. We would let you know if you need to come in to see an officer to provide any of that additional documentation. But yes, you would initiate the process through the portal.
Okay, that sounds simple enough.
Simple enough.
Okay, so all right, now let's talk. There's a lot of stuff happening. So we have the games coming up, pretty much starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have the Olympics coming up in 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
We have the games. Not just they're starting tomorrow, but they're happening in other countries as well. So there's going to be a lot of travel.
You have a lot of people going back and forth
Right.
between Canada,
And then
the United States, and Mexico.
Right, and then of course we have people traveling just for summer travel, just regular summer traveling.
Yep.
So what do people need to do if they just want to make traveling easier? Because the airports are going to probably be pretty crowded this summer.
Yeah, they'll be crowded. I think this is something we've been preparing for a long time. I mean, we've been working on the process for FIFA, not only making the game safe, but making the travel into the country, as seamless as we possibly can for people, well in advance. We've been planning for this for a long time, and I think having all of your stuff ready is really huge. Having your IDs ready, making sure you're in all the right programs. If you're from a visa waiver country, a country that we recognize as being part of the visa waiver program, apply for your ESTA way in advance. And I think one of the things we do have to caution people on, we have gotten a lot of questions on this, is that, well, it was originally approved, but then later on denied. And that can't happen because you're going through a continuous vetting process. So if for some reason we end up encountering a criminal conviction, later during that vetting process, that is going to change from an approval to a denial. So that the sooner you apply for it, the better, because then it gives you the opportunity, you have enough time to apply for a visa to come to the country. Because in order to be, there's different requirements from the visa waiver program to be able to come in without a visa than there is with a visa. So, and then when you're planning your routes coming in and out of the country, take a look at, if you're like let's say you're flying to Seattle, you're gonna watch a game, and you go to Vancouver for one of the games, you're gonna drive back. Take a look at our border wait time apps. When's the best time to cross the border so that you're not waiting in a long line, because there'll be a lot of people going back and forth between the stadiums, especially the ones that are in driving distance. So take a look at that. Like if you're up in Toronto and then you want to go down to New York, is it better to fly or drive? So plan all that stuff in advance, and then make sure you have the proper programs that you can use. If you're flying MPC, Global Entry, if you're driving, you can still come into the United States with Global Entry. You can't go into Canada with it, but maybe there's another program that you need to use. Make sure, like I said, if you've got your visa waiver program, you're using ESTA. Have all those approvals in advance.
Yeah. And as mentioned before, the less you bring, the less you have to worry, the less you have to declare. So you can just go, you just come over here. We have plenty of businesses, restaurants, agriculture resources, stuff that you can enjoy while you're here. So it's less stuff that you have to carry. Also check on the websites to see what's, again, cbp.gov, to prepare before you pack. So you already know what you're packing, what's okay to come in and what's not. Then that way it's less stuff to carry, it's easier for you to go through and enjoy your time watching the games.
Okay, now there's a new functionality. It's called Compass. Can y'all explain to me what exactly is Compass and how will it benefit travelers?
It allows you to go on to cbp.gov and ask a question, and then it will direct you into where you need to look to get the question answered. We're a huge government with a lot of laws and information out there, right? I mean, the website's huge, and we understand that. Even though we are getting really good at changing the look and feel of that website and trying to make it more seamless, like we recently updated our travel page. When you go to cbp.gov/travel, you can actually really see everything kind of laid out nicely. It's formatted well. It's easy to understand. But you can also ask Compass a question and use that tool to hopefully get you an answer or point you in the right direction where you need to go if you can't find it.
Okay, so basically when they go on the website, the Compass just kind of tells them where they need to go?
Yeah, there's like a little icon for it, and you click on it, and then you can ask it a question, and it'll give you what you need.
Well, that's pretty good.
Or give you the link to what you need to read. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's pretty good.
It is pretty good, yeah.
I might have to use that myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff on our website.
Absolutely. Yeah, you will find it on the website for sure.
Okay, there was a question. Says Global Entry needs a way to contact somebody. I had Global Entry, and then there was nowhere. Then out of nowhere they revoked it, and they can't figure out why. So I guess their Global Entry membership was revoked out of nowhere, and they can't figure out why, and they don't know how to contact someone to find out why it was revoked.
So depending on where they live, they could go to an enrollment center to get some information. You can submit questions through the portal. You can also send in a letter to CBP if you needed to. So all that information is on our website. And someone will try and get back to you with an answer. People do have the right to contest that revocation. Odds are if we revoked it was probably for a pretty good reason. But if you feel that it wasn't, you have the right to contest that, and you can go to the ombudsman and they can make a decision at that point. Okay.
And so we hear a lot about the ombudsman because we've had people contact us over the past few months saying that their Global Entry membership was revoked because of this reason or that reason. And we say contact your ombudsman, but they can find their ombudsman through the portal as well.
Yeah, that contact information on how to go about if you think something is wrong or you think a decision was made that it shouldn't have, like basically your ability to say, I want another review is on the webpage, and you can go through that, and it kind of tells you step by step how to send it in, where to send it to, and then obviously they have to review those. It's not like it's an instantaneous response, but you will get one.
Okay. Question for you, Basin. and you kind of touched on this actually a little earlier. Can people bring fruits like mangoes into the United States if they have a certificate from the originating country?
Oh, that's a good question. Again, it would have to be a case-by-case scenario because there's so many countries, so many certificates, so many regulations. So the best thing is if they do have that information to go ahead and present it to the agriculture specialist, and they could review it to see based on the requirements they need once that fruit comes in. They still have to visually inspect it anyways because we want to make sure that, okay, even though you have the certification for this, we want to make sure that it's free of pests. So we still have to look to see if it's free of any pest or any possible disease that's on there like that affects mangoes. So, and that's with any food product. So if you do have any documentation for any fruit or any animal products or byproducts, please feel free to show that up. I know that includes any other items such as like instant soup mixes or anything that could have animal byproducts in it. Declare that as well. Even though it's dry, it's already been processed. The best thing is just to declare it. If you have documentation with it that accompanies it, please present it to them, and then the agriculture specialist will make the decision based on what they see in front of them.
Okay. Another question that came in is this summer too late to renew an expired passport?
So we don't do passports. That's the Department of State. In my experience, trying to answer this the best that I can, no, you can, depending on how long it's been expired, the renewal can be online. If this is a U.S. passport we're talking about, you can usually do that renewal online. If it's past that expiration date and you have to go back to like the, mail it in and go to the post office kind of thing, it could take a little bit longer. But I've heard people say the turnaround times have been fairly reasonable. So I wouldn't say it's too late, but I would do it as quickly as you can.
Right. But if people want more information about that, then they should go to travel.state.gov, I
Yes,
believe it
exactly. And you can search for a passport application. Yep.
Okay, and what are some other websites that people can go to? They're planning on traveling to the United States. I know there's the Know Before You Go website.
Yeah, all of that information is on cbp.gov/travel. And if you search the travel, whether you just go to cbp.gov, use Compass to look for travel, or you click on the travel icon, it'll give you all the information you need based on topic. So if you are a U.S. citizen traveling back into your country, back in the United States, you click on that one, tells you everything you need to know, hyperlinks to everything else you need. If you're not a U.S. citizen, you're a non-U.S. citizen, you can click on that link, and it'll take you to all the information you need in that page. So do you need a visa? Do you not need a visa? What airports can I go to? It has travel advisories, things like that.
Okay. And another website that I particularly enjoy going to is the Don't Pack a Pest website.
Yes. So the Don't Pack a Pest website, again, you can find it under the cbp.gov, under the border security, and that also lets you know some of the stuff to be aware of before you start packing stuff in there. Again, like the mangoes or whatever food items that you're planning on coming in, to make sure that this is some of the stuff that's allowed to come in. So generally like a cookie or cracker or something like that, and other stuff that is usually prohibited. So there's some stuff that generally is prohibited, but again, it all depends on what country you're going to, what country you're coming from, and how it's processed. So the best thing is to check out the website, the Don't Pack a Pest website, and also check out cbp.gov and declare everything. Just let us know. This is what I have. If you have any documentation,
It's
and
better
just because
to over-declare.
yeah, it's better to over-declare, because at least that way they could say, oh, this is fine. And a lot of times they'll just tell you, it's okay, go ahead and take it. It's not a big deal. So if you have it, you're like, all right, and then just give it to you. But other stuff, if you have certificates, it's not very common, like with the question about the mango certificates. It may not be valid, so just be aware, like, if somebody told you somewhere else this is valid, okay, it may not be valid here. So just be aware. Just because you have a certificate, it may not be something, or it may not be enough of what you need for this item to come in. So just be aware. So
I'm going to stay with you. Another question that just came in is, do I still need to declare my pet if I'm a trusted traveler member?
I would say yes, you still have to declare your pet. You have to make sure you have all the documentation that you need for your animal. If your animal seems sick or something's wrong with it, something may have happened over the course of travel, report that as well too. Especially if you smell a foul odor, or your dog looks very tired or something. It could be just like exhaustion from the travel, or it could be something that maybe your pet got sick and now it's starting to show symptoms of this illness. So yeah, definitely anytime you have pets, or even if you are in the Trusted Traveler program, you still have to declare food. So a lot of times if you don't declare the food, and sometimes we happen to encounter it or we find it, then they could take away your trusted traveler program benefits. So make sure you just declare it. You know, even if you forgot, I forgot the apple, just declare it. Your pets, declare them. So let us know what you have so we can see if it's okay to come in.
Going through a trusted traveler program doesn't absolve you from having to fill out specific paperwork, having certain things be checked. That's just part of that initial primary process. The rest of it still has to happen. So you have to still declare everything that you have, regardless of what it is.
Makes sense. Question: if someone declares and it's meat, would they get fined or lose global entry? I don't carry food, but I'm just interested to know.
No, if you declare it, it should be fine. They'll look at it, they'll be like, okay, I have meat, and if you could be specific, you know, if it's like beef jerky or some sort of soup mix or whatever, as long as you declare it and you're being forthcoming, they can look at it. Now, sometimes they'll be like, oh, it's okay to come in, it shouldn't impact you. And even if it's not allowed to come in, you've already declared it. You said, I have this here, I'm just making sure that it's okay or not. And then the only thing they'll do is they'll take it away and dispose of it accordingly. But it should not impact your trusted traveler if there was no other issues with that travel incident, so to speak.
Yeah, I know some people get a little nervous about, because they want to bring things back from another country, you know, candy, or maybe they've gone to a market and they don't want it taken away. So they're like, okay, well, should I declare it, or should I try to hide it? Maybe I'll pack it within my clothes or something.
Well, that's what will get you in trouble,
Right.
And that goes with anything. Anytime you try and hide something, or you try and tell us you don't have it, and we're going to find it later, you're going to. That's when you're going to have a violation. And from a global entry perspective, you're probably going to lose your global entry, or any trusted traveler program for that matter.
And we can't have that.
No, we don't want that. You know.
Now we talked about, you know, the tournament starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
There are people who might want to, you know, get those really cool overhead shots, so they might want to travel with their drones.
Yeah.
Can they travel with their drones?
No, and these are very restricted airspace. Security's paramount. Mm-hmm. We've been preparing for these games for a very long time. They're in stadiums in 3 different countries. I can't speak to Canadian rules and Mexico rules, but in the United States, there's no flying drones over anywhere near these stadiums, and we do have counter drone programs. So, CBP, along with all of our other law enforcement partners, are looking at this extensively. But no, you cannot travel with them.
Yeah, I can see how that would cause some problems.
It would definitely cause some problems. That's a big security no-no.
Mason, some people want to know why pork is prohibited in only certain countries.
Well, pork is prohibited from most countries. It's very rare that pork is enterable from any country, and that's because there's several viruses and illnesses that affect pork, like African swine fever, African vesicular fever. So there's a lot of viruses and diseases that affect pork. And even though you're coming in and you're saying, I'm bringing in this food from wherever, and you cooked it, right? It was in a soup. It was in some sort of other, tamales, or wherever it is that you make a sandwich. The fact that USDA and the U.S. has strict standards to make sure that the food is adequately processed in a way that it'll eradicate any of these viruses. So when you come in, and even though you have family members, or you got it from a restaurant, whatever, we don't know at what temperature they cooked it, after how long. So we don't know if those viruses have been eradicated from these items. So pork is one of those commodities that generally is prohibited. Not all the time. So again, best to go on the Don't Pack a Pest and on these CBP websites to check to see if it's okay to come in. But generally, pork is not allowed. So even though it's processed and it's cooked, it has some of these viruses that's hard to eradicate it, and it has to be met at a certain temperature, again, certain time, that you don't have documentation that, however, that says that it's been processed in that format.
So in other words, just eat the pork here in the United States.
We have plenty of pork.
Yeah. We have a lot of food in the U.S.
We have a lot of pork. We have a lot, and that's the thing. If you're traveling from out of the country, this is your opportunity to see so many different foods that are already here. American food, fruit from all around the world, and you'll get to go to many places. So Please enjoy what we have, our natural resources. That's what we want to welcome travelers to see, enjoy the great things that the U.S. has to provide to everybody. And if you're coming back home, just remember that you don't want to bring that stuff back home that's going to impact you later on, and it's going to increase your food prices or anything that's going to impact you or your animals. So that's one of the things to take into account. If you it's better just eat your food on the plane or enjoy what we have here already in the United States.
There you go. Question for you, Aaron. If my global entry is taken away, is it gone forever? Can I ever get it back?
I would guess it would depend on what it was taken away for. Obviously, you have a recent arrest and conviction. Probably not. You're probably not eligible for the program anymore. It really depends on the circumstances. But you can always ask that question through that application process. You can always try and apply again later. If it was a minor infraction or it was something that eventually isn't of a concern anymore, then potentially, yeah. But each individual situation is handled on its own.
Okay. So the thing is, if, like you said, global entry is a privilege. It's not a right.
Correct.
So just take care
Yeah,
of it.
it may not. You may be able to still travel into the country. You just might not be eligible for the Trusted Traveler program. So the only way you would know is to reapply, spend some time. It's been 5-10 years and you're not sure. You could potentially ask a question when you're traveling through one of the ports of entry, or and kind of be straightforward about what it is that happened before, or you could just reapply and see what happens.
Okay. It makes a lot of sense. So you can pay and reapply. If you're denied, you can log into your account, and it's free to submit a reconsideration request.
It doesn't cost anything for you to ask questions, or for you to go to the ombudsman for reconsideration. No.
Good to know. All right. Oh, somebody wants to know how they can become a CBP officer at the airport.
Well, you can't apply at the airport to become a CBP officer. That's what you're alluding to. We don't want to do that. So we post all our jobs on USA Jobs, and we will update locations. Some locations have hiring incentives. We are hiring a lot of CBP officers right now. I know Border Patrol's hiring a lot of Border Patrol agents. I'm sure Agriculture's got some open announcement outs as well. It is a process. Obviously, you got to apply. You got to go through a background check. Civil service exams. We have to obviously take your fingerprints. You have to do a drug test, polygraph, things like that. But it is a very rewarding job. One of the things I always tell people when I talk to them about potentially becoming is you can work as an officer and work anywhere in the world. We're at locations all over the world. So imagine 5, 6, 7, 10 years into your career, and you can go work in Japan, or you can go work.
Yes.
You want to do pre-clearance? You want to live in the Bahamas for a couple of years? Sounds kind of nice. You could go work in Canada for a few years of pre-clearance. Mm-hmm. You can become part of the attaché program as your career grows and be an attaché someplace, right? So it really has. It can be whatever you want to make it. It pays well. You get a pension. You get a retirement account. So there's a lot of benefits to it. It is a long process, but it can be a rewarding one in the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and for CBP agriculture specialists, same thing. You go to very similar things as well. But you also need an educational requirement, a lot of times with natural sciences, biology, chemistry, environmental sciences, agriculture sciences. And then what you do is you go ahead and go through the academy, and you also learn specifically, learning about the different agriculture policies that you enforce through and other several agencies that throughout the U.S. to see some of the animal products, plant products that come in. So you learn a lot of pest identification techniques and all the stuff that you do. But again, there's also pre-clearance programs where they can go. There's agriculture specialist stationed throughout the United States as well, just like the officers. And you're part of that frontline personnel that's also having that frontline security to protect the homeland. So it's a great opportunity for you as well too.
I've always said I've always admired how the agriculture specialists, I was the public affairs officer in New Orleans for about 3 years, and I always admired how the agriculture specialists would just take just a flashlight and would search an entire cargo ship and find the smallest little moth mass. And they would find all of these moth masses throughout the cargo ship and say, okay, this ship cannot come into American waters, U.S. waters, until we're able to get rid of all of these little moth masses. I forgot what they call the moth now, so I'm not going to call it what they used to call it back then.
Yeah, we've had several
Yeah.
things like that. The spongy moth. There's
Yes.
gypsy with a lot of different moths. So that's some of the
Yes.
stuff that we do out there. We're out in the sea environment, in the air environment, the land border environments. Some of, as you've seen, like the canine dogs, the beagles, and the larger breed Labradors that we see. So we work in the cargo environments and passenger environments, mail environments. So we see all of that stuff that goes in there. We try to do our best to protect American agriculture and our natural resources. So we have all these tools that are given to us, and even into the biological sciences when people bring in research material. Even that stuff is stuff that we regulate, and we go out there and make sure that it complies with all the import requirements needed.
And they need, you said there's an educational requirement.
Yes, and if you go onto the website, if you go onto the the USA Jobs, it'll give you what the requirements are on there and let you know. Same thing with the officer positions; it'll give you the requirements and the duties on what is on there, where the locations are that you're applying as well too.
Okay. Now, another question came in: is how is CBP different from TSA?
So TSA is domestic security. It's security for getting onto a plane, whereas we're protecting the country from people coming in to make sure that the people coming in, the goods coming in, are safe to enter the United States. So they're looking to make sure that there's no weapons going onto a plane. They're screening you to make sure the person they're putting on the plane is safe. We are inspecting people coming into the country and leaving the country to make sure that person is eligible to enter the United States, isn't going to cause any national security concerns, or isn't entering anything like illegal drugs in the country, things like that.
So your job is very important right now with so much international travel happening coming into the United States,
Right.
which leads us into possibly one of our final questions is how, and you've mentioned it quite a few times this during this hour, how CBP has been preparing for the FIFA games. And so how is CBP preparing for this upcoming tournament?
Extensively. We know where the games are. We've been prepared for it. We're basically finishing processing all the teams coming in. They're ready to play. Everybody's ready to see them. And like I said, we know the impacted areas based on travel patterns. We can look at that historically speaking. We know where the games are being held. So you already know how people are getting in and out of the country to reach those locations. So we can adequately staff for it. We can be ready for it. It doesn't mean some locations won't get busier than others. Like I said, if you're trying to drive across a land border to a specific stadium, you might want to give yourself a little bit of extra time because everybody's going to be traveling at the same time. So know those regulations, know those laws, have everything ready. Maybe check the border wait time maps to see if there's a location that's not as busy as the other one, or maybe check peak times, travel before that, give yourself a little bit of extra time to come in. But CBP is ready to process everybody.
And you mentioned the Border Wait Time app. That is a free app that they can download.
That's a free app as well. I even use it myself when I work here. So if I'm traveling, I got driving to Canada and back, I want to go across the bridge that isn't the busiest as well.
So yeah, we've mentioned quite a few apps that people can download, and all of these apps are free. They can just go to the App Store on whichever phone that they use,
Right.
and they can download these apps for free.
Yeah, you do not need to pay for a service to help you figure out how to get your ESTA application or how to apply for global entry. You can do it through the portal on a desktop app computer, or you can download one of the applications and do it that way. ESTA, Global Entry, MPC, they all have their own applications and they're all free and they're all government run.
That's wonderful. Another quick question. Are there global entry kiosks at the cruise ship ports?
We have trusted traveler processing at different cruise ship terminals. The best thing to do is to check out the specific cruise terminal that you're looking for on our website. Give you more accurate information about who has it and who doesn't. There's a lot of different cruise terminals out there.
Okay, but now you do have the biometric entry exit at the cruise.
We do have some of those as well. Lots of different programs and lots of different areas depending on the use, how busy it is, different technologies. So the easiest thing to do is take a look at the website and see which travel applications are best for where it is that you're coming into.
Okay. And question is, I'm traveling with small children and we have global entry. Should I use the global entry app?
If the kids also have global entry, then yes. If not, and you want to stay with your kids, you can use your global entry card. If the kids don't have it, you can still go through a regular lane, but use that card as part of your identification.
But I do also want to point out, though, that since global entry, or since the Trusted Traveler programs were harmonized, that children under the age of, I believe, is it under the age of 18 or under the age of 21?
I don't know if I remember the exact age for that. But the way the application will tell you whether you need to take that selfie photo through the application when you're arriving. And you can do it for a kid as well if needed. The app will recognize a child. I don't remember the exact age for it, but it is online.
Or they did say it's under the age of 18.
Under the age of 18.
They can actually get global entry for free now.
Correct. Yes.
Yes.
So you're not actually paying for the child. But the way the question came in, I wasn't sure whether they were saying they had it or didn't have it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either.
Yeah, but if you are applying for it and you have a child, your child is free.
Which is a great benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, I think that is all of the questions. And we got a lot of questions in here in this hour.
That's great. Awesome. Hope everybody has a seamless travel experience coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are there any final thoughts that you would like to leave everybody with as we go into this tournament season?
I think be ready, be prepared, come in, have a good time. Do what you can to make that travel experience as seamless as possible so you can get to where you want to go so you can enjoy the games. Awesome.
And then what about just summer travel in general? There are people getting ready to just take a vacation.
Travel tips are travel tips, right? So if you can, whatever you can do to be ahead of that, to make it as easy as possible, it makes our jobs easier. We want you to get to where you're going. You still have to go through the inspection process. So like we've talked about, declare everything, have the right ID, use these travel programs if you're eligible for them, get your global entry, download MPC if you're eligible. Take a look at everything that will help you make the process coming in as easy as possible. Go to cbp.gov travel and look up what's best for you, your family, your travel companions.
Wonderful.
Yes. Again, declare everything that you have. It doesn't hurt in declaring what you have, but it's best to prepare beforehand. That way you already know what you can and cannot bring. Once you're here, just declare it. If you want to make things easier and smoother, make sure you just bring less stuff that you can already be finding here. You can find in the U.S., including food. If you're coming back, welcome back from your vacation, but just be aware and just declare whatever that you have. Again, we're your travel companions. Again, if you are going out of the country, you're bringing them in, just please make sure that they're okay, that they're safe, bring all the requirements that you need. Check on the websites to see what is required, and keep posted on them, because a lot of times these regulation changes can happen overnight. So just make sure that you go on there on the website prior to travel, because something that may be now, it may be different tomorrow. So I would say just prior to your trip, make sure you prepare and you see where you go online to do that. And enjoy your time in the United States, and welcome back for those folks who are coming back from travel.
Wonderful. Well, we have reached the end of another great conversation about summer travel. I want to thank you both for joining me today for CBP Travel Talk. And for more information on international travel, remember to visit cbp.gov. Thanks again, and safe travels.